Hello, welcome to another Connecting Consciousness. It's the 1st of September, a Sunday, and hopefully we'll be able to get this out later tonight. If not, it'll go out tomorrow. So thank you very much indeed for taking the trouble to listen and do your own research and your own spiritual development. What I want to talk about was the meditation that we did. I want to thank everyone so much for coming in on that from all over the world. The last time we did anything like that was with the CERN device, the particle accelerator, under Switzerland French border. Don't often call on people to do a worldwide meditation, but this was necessary. I think what was really surprising for me was that the meditation was incredibly helpful, because what we found was that what we were led to believe would be expected to find a very large raging inferno, great big fire. What we actually found was a outer ring of fire, and the central areas where I expected to find great conflagration, terrible devastation, there was either nothing or minimal. On the face of it, this is very hard to understand. One of the reasons that we went down this road, and I made the decision to do this, was that, as you would expect, we've got Connecting Consciousness members scattered throughout South America, and a number of our members actually reported that the fires were quite bad, the smoke was drifting across. So we had multiple reports of this, and this is not media outlets, it's not, the local guy next door ringing in to make a fuss. These are Connecting Consciousness spiritual members who are experiencing this because they live there. So we went in and we had a look, and thank you ever so much for what you did. There definitely were fires. If anybody says to you there were no fires, they're wrong. There really were fires. But what I can say is that they were nothing as bad as I expected. What I detected was an external influence manipulating our thought processes. In other words, I expected to find the element of greed. I expected corporate organizations, individual people who wanted to deforest the area so they could put cattle on there, or they could put palm plants, something that was a good cash crop for them. That's what I expected. Just shows you it's not worth trying to speculate too much. So when we got in there, that's not what we found. Absolutely not what I found. I found an almost artificial intelligence, can't say for certain, but a non-earth-based intelligence manipulating the psyche of the environment. Now, at this stage of the game, I have no idea what can be gained by projecting fires and projecting them as worse than they really are. I don't understand that. I don't see what the bad side can gain from that. It was not entirely earth-based. Some of this was definitely coming from off-planet. Whether it was an experiment to see how easy it would be to manipulate mainstream media, whether it would be able to take effect on individuals, I don't know. But what we were able to do is, and I did put this on the post, we were able to, I said temporarily, I mean days, not just minutes or hours, we were able to temporarily put a stop to that. We temporarily disengaged it. Now again, obviously we've been round on Skype to our members, and we did have a chance to talk to one CC member in the area who, for them anyway, reported a reduction in the smoke. So that individual I have Skyped with, who lives locally, and reported a significant reduction in the smoke coming across. Now that doesn't mean that all areas are reduced, but in that person's experience had been reduced. I found what I call artifacts. It doesn't mean an old spear or an old object. I refer to artifact as a non-physical a non-human object. I found artifacts which I had a good old go at, to use a British expression, which were there as sort of a relay booster, relay station. I actually think some of the elite on Earth didn't have a clue what was going on there. I actually think that most of the people who are on the bad side weren't involved in this. They weren't manipulating it, they didn't understand it, they weren't aware of it. And that's why the established media didn't really get onto it, because the established media do what their paymasters tell them, and the paymasters weren't really aware of what was happening. I think we had some form of an experiment going on here, and we did actually go in and we have significantly reduced whatever this bad purpose was. So there were definitely fires burning. They were on what I call the periphery, like an outer circle, but the central area where I expected to find the fires, there was nothing or little. Certainly there will be a reduction in the fires, because all of your energies, your positive energies, will have had an effect. But perhaps just or more importantly, it's been able to tackle whatever was trying to get in and manipulate stuff. So it was a twofold success. I do not expect all the fires to go out overnight, but I do expect a significant reduction. So that's the main piece of news. And you know, that it was really important that we all did that, because if we not done that, I and others would not have detected this third party that was sort of hiding in the flames and the smoke. So thank you for that. Let's talk about Britain. We don't talk about Britain enough, maybe. The politics that's going on at the moment. Tuesday should be a make or break day for democracy in Britain. There will be a significant attempt by the British Parliament to wrest control of the agenda from the elected government. And if that should take place, then you would expect, or I would expect, the current Prime Minister to immediately call a snap general election. So in other words, if it looks as if the opposition parties, with some of the others from government, have managed to take control of what we call the order paper, it's the order of governance. If they can take control of the agenda, basically, then I think the Prime Minister Boris Johnson will call a general election rather than hold out and wait. Now, very exciting times, very troubling times, very difficult times. It means that Britain is it's very unsettling for many people. And as I approach my birthday very soon now, it's quite an exciting time to look and see what's happening. So that's that. On the world stage, things are a little bit quieter. There seem to be deals and counter deals going on at the moment in America with President Trump. I saw that a couple of quite prominent people have basically done a podcast saying that, you know, these indictments have got to be opened soon. They've got to be opened before President Trump goes for re-election. I absolutely agree with that. In fact, I've said that for 2 years now, that these indictments have to be opened before we get into the electoral process. And it's not a subject that will go away. Just because we've talked about it last time doesn't mean we won't talk about it again. And I've grudgingly accepted that, yes, in some cases I understand that these things want to be done behind closed doors. I'm not overly happy about it, but I accept that. But I think the vast majority of these need to be done open to the public. I can't for one moment think why you would want to exclude people from the truth. There are perhaps a number of instances, let's say 9/11, where, you know, they might seek to deal with individuals behind the scenes but not have that public because of the terrible damage that it would do the current government of America. So that's something. But I do stick with what I've said, that I think the truth has to come out, and I think everyone has to have access to it. One of the reasons that I went public, sort of celebrating, really, it was 10 years ago, was because I thought that people were grown up enough to have the truth. I think back to people like my mother, my grandfather, the old school, whose opinion was, well, people don't really have the capability to hold the truth. And so there was this quite powerful lobby that said, we have to make the decisions on behalf of people, because people can't be trusted, they can't be expected, that's even more patronizing, they can't be expected to cope with the truth. And that held true for so many years, and I've always thought, actually, that's wrong. You need to lay all the truth out, no matter how difficult it is, and say to people, make a choice. What do you want to do with it? And of course that's taking power away from the very people who are used to wielding power. But if you're going to have a change, then you've got to have trust of people, and I think that's really important. So, okay, those are the two main things. Just coming out of the summer holiday period, it has been quieter politically. I know that we'll go on a roller coaster in the next 3 to 4 months as we go towards the Christmas period. It will be a roller coaster of a ride. Thank you to everybody who said that I was looking better after my week's holiday. A number of you made the comments that I've been looking quite drawn and tired. Well, energy work, for those of you who do it, you know that it is quite training. And yes, I needed that holiday, and that was a great little holiday, 1 week away from everything. Well, not quite, but there we are. So we're back, rearing to go. Oh, and I've got something to show you. It's a start. It's got a little way to go yet. This is the knitting. That's going to be my scarf. And Becky is furiously knitting away when she can. Not now, because she doesn't want to interrupt you with the clicking. But that's the scarf, and I'm hoping the podcast for Christmas, like Tom Baker, one of the finest Doctor Who's, I shall be able to do my little presentation with a 12-foot scarf wrapped around my neck. So there we go. So with no further ado, over to Becky. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think 12 foot is possibly pushing it a bit.
Well, we'll give it a go.
Maybe 4 foot or 5 foot.
I'll be a cut down Doctor Who then. Okay.
Okay. First question is from Michelle, who says, "Hi Simon and Becky. Always listen to your Sunday show, and after hearing a question from Angie in Cornwall about the moon, I always stargaze before going to bed, and the moon I love to look at. But on the 20th to the 21st of May this year, I was admiring how much it looked like a luminous pearl when it started juddering and shaking. This went on for a good 10 minutes, and I have never seen or heard of anything like this. Or was it the earth wobbling? I would like your thoughts on this. Like Angie, I am also a Cancer sign, and I do love the moon. Thank you for all your great works that you do and your team do. These Sundays are the best. Many thanks and love to you all, animals included. Michelle."
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you for mentioning the team. The team, of course, volunteers and give up their free time whenever they can. Without it, it would be very difficult to do anything really. I'll throw a question back at you. I know you're not in a position to answer it because you're not here with me, but the juddering, did you feel the earth move, as they say? Did you feel vibrations through your feet? No, you didn't. The issue we have here is that most astronomers, I know you're not an astronomer necessarily, but most astronomers are male. So when an astronomer male looks at the moon, it doesn't have any effect on him at all, because the moon is connected to the divine through a negative fourth dimensional energy field. My concern, oh look, there's a white cat. There we are. There we are. That's great. And I didn't arrange that at all.
And below him is Freya.
Oh yes, Freya the dog
carefully
behind hand. So long as the cat doesn't jump on the top of the dog, we won't have a huge conflict. Right, so the difficulty I think we have with the moon is that it's for a long time been, because it's artificial, it's lent itself very nicely, if that's the right word, to artificial manipulation. Something that's organic and created by source resists evil manipulation. Doesn't mean you can't, but it resists it. I rather think that what you experienced was internal within yourself, and I think you have to be incredibly careful, because this is a combination of fourth dimensional energy trying to affect you. So unless you can categorically say that you felt a rumble on your feet or that, than what you felt was going on within you. My concern is that you continue to look at the moon for what you describe as 10 minutes while this shaking effect was going on. Either your concept of that 10 minutes is wrong and it was more like 30 seconds, or you really were looking at it for 10 minutes, in which case we need to be incredibly careful that you haven't received some form of programming. My advice is please don't look at the moon anymore. Look at some protection for yourself. Clearly something is, I believe, attacking you through the moon, through the energy of the moon. See, I knew that would happen. See? And you need to be incredibly careful. So what I'd like is when we open the books again, which we'll do probably just before Christmas, please get on there, and it would be perhaps very helpful for me to have a chat with you on that. But just, as I say, keep off the moon. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. The next question is from someone called Zed or Z. Hi Simon, it feels as though I have been sucked in by an etheric whirlpool. A dense, slow substance has filled my stomach and messed with all of my chakras. The more I rebel, the more it seems to upgrade or take. Now, just by looking inside myself, I get eaten up. What is it, and can it be removed?
Right. Had this question come about 3 or 4 years ago, everyone would have been shouting black goo. There's definitely an external attack here. Yes, it can be removed. This is an external force, but without any more information, I can't really decide where that's coming from. But 100% this is external to you. This is not biological or some sort of a disease you've got. This is external coming in. I'm afraid it's the same answer when I, just keep yourself clear as you can, and when we get a chance, rebook or book with me. If you can't wait that long, find somebody else that you trust and go to them and see if they'll help you. But absolutely, that is some form of attack against you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next question is from Bob, who says, Hello Becky, I've been watching the website for a year now and cannot see where I can book an appointment with Simon. I'm not an urgent case, but I do need help. Can you send me an email with some dates in the future that Simon will be rested and available?
Oh.
I have Skype and I can send photos. Kind regards and blessings, Bob.
Right, Bob. Well, thank you. We can't send you dates ahead because we don't plan like that. I have to be at a certain energy level to be able to say, right, let's go for this, let's do it. But what I've always done is announced on the radio show so that people can go and book it. On the services page, generally at the bottom it says book. So you go to the services that I provide, go to the bottom, and there will be a link. It's not active at the moment, it's not there at the moment because we're not open. But before Christmas, quite a way before Christmas, I'm going to open the books again, tell people, and then if you still would like to have that talk to me, then you just go ahead and book it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Bob's also written another question. It says, Hello Becky and Simon, I love you both. You're truly making a difference to people's lives, and I believe your work is positively polarised and comes from unconditional love. It does, yes. This reality is lucky to have you to connect to. My question is, can a deeply saddened person who would love to be removed from all existence throughout all time in all other worlds, alternate and parallel realities, in order to have no sense or consciousness or any chance of being incarnated as anything ever again, can they be granted this request? Kind regards, Bob.
No. Because when a soul is created, it's been created to go on a journey. If a person wishes to abdicate that responsibility and say, thank you very much indeed, I've had quite enough of this, I don't want any more, that's not the deal. Tragically, very sadly, people take their physical lives. They will terminate their physical bodies, what is called suicide. but the soul doesn't die, and they just come back again. Now, whether they come back into the same situation or a different situation, I truly don't know. But at the moment that the great creator source makes us, the question we're asked is, where do you want to go to start this journey? We're not asked, how long would you like to do this for? Well, where do you want to end up? Because that's down to us. Now, you could say, well, it's my free will to end everything. The point is, sadly, it is our free will to end our physical bodies. I need to explain this. We are living on the planet Earth. We are created of the Earth. There are large elements of us which are from this Earth. Had to be like that. Otherwise, the Earth would not accept us. We would just be like fleas on the back of a dog, be continually trying to scratch us, throw us off. But that's not the case. There is a covenant between humanity and the planet Earth. So we have the right to terminate our physical bodies. Don't agree with that, but we have the right to do that. But we do not have the right to terminate the soul within our bodies, because we don't create that. The soul in our body comes from source, the great creational force, and we had no ability to do that. It doesn't contain any earth element. So we can't say, I wish to end in past, the future, the present, and all different realities, or different time zones, or different dimensions, because it's not our prerogative. We're not at that level. We're not God. Therefore, we can't do that. Now, if a person wants to terminate their physical body every lifetime, that's their choice. But they're not evolving. And this is not a criticism, because I've never been down that road, so I can't say I understand why people commit suicide. I genuinely don't understand that, because I have not been to that point. But just because somebody commits suicide in one lifetime doesn't mean they'll do it in the next lifetime. Okay? And the whole point about all of this is to experience and to move forward. And moving forward for one person is a completely different concept for another person. So the answer, as I gave you, is no, that can't happen. Thank you for your question. That's the first time anybody has asked me that. And thank you for your kind words. Thank you.
Thanks. And I've just got a little bit that I'd like to add, that when people meditate or get in touch with their soul, that truly get in touch with their soul or their higher self, they do tend to feel, once they've managed to eliminate all other senses and all other distractions and feelings and emotions, they do tend to intrinsically feel a huge connection to the divine and overwhelming love. And I do personally feel that the feeling of being deeply saddened is very much connected to our bodies and our emotions, and that when we're just in pure soul form, we don't have the same connection to that attachment. We are much more our true divine spark, our true selves, and are much more connected to the oneness and all that is, that there just isn't that sense of deep sadden.
I totally agree, but you're totally right. But the only balance to that is that we chose to come to the earth, which meant if we chose to come here, we chose to interact with those emotions and therefore try to understand them. And part of being human is being on a planet. Now, whether that's the Pleiades or whether it's Lyra or where have you, it doesn't actually matter. The fact is that you are a divine soul, but you are in an organic body, and it's very difficult to split the feelings of the physical, the organic brain, and the chemical, and the soul divine, and that's maybe part of our journey. Okay, thank you. What's the next question?
Okay, thanks. Next one is from Mike, who says, can we communicate with our soul and ask it questions about our past, and how?
Some people can. There's a difference between somebody who can access the Akashic records, which is an off-planet, it's an off-dimensional cache, although it is accessible from here. And those people who can either read the DNA, the energy DNA record, or their soul record. You see, it isn't just the organic brain that is a memory. That's what, of course, we're taught. But the last 20 years of scientific experiments have shown that other organs can retain some sort of memory. And so the concept that just the brain acts as a memory is beginning to crumble now. Some people can access the Akashic, some people the soul, and some people the DNA. When we have past life memories, if our past lifetimes come back, that's not your organic brain that's remembering that. Remember, your brain is a new object every time you reincarnate. So if you're remembering something from 500 years ago or 25,000 years ago, that's clearly not coming from the organic. So you either have some very strong gift to access the Akashic, or is more likely either the DNA memory, because there's an energy strands of DNA which come with you all the time, or it is the soul itself that can hold a memory. Generally I would go with the soul having the memory. That is part of the process when we are zapped just before we come down to remove not just our past memory but other elements of it, and why it's so fragmentary, why people have a strong feeling about something, or they will have a memory, but that's the only bit that survived the airbrushing that we receive each time we come here. And when this rather nasty control force is overthrown, then the real point of humanity is to be able to live your many lives and remember them. So it's no wonder that modern science doesn't believe in reincarnation, because the general population doesn't have that memory, and we really work within one lifetime. Everything that we have is of one lifetime. If you were able to say, well, in this lifetime I did that, that lifetime I did that, and that appeared in the books, and there were lots of films about it, it would be part of our culture, and so it wouldn't be an issue at all. It's because it is very largely wiped from our conscious memory through the soul not being able to pass that information across, and that it's only very few people that have that, and for many unaware and unawake people, they actually do have past memories, but for them it's like they go to the travel agent, and the travel agent says to them, "You're back again, are you? Don't tell me it's Egypt. How many times have you been to Egypt?" "Oh, 15 times. Why do you like Egypt?" "Well, it's nice weather." It's got nothing to do with the weather. It's because there is a part of them that remembers a past life, in this case in Egypt, but there's nothing really concrete coming through. But if someone's awake and aware, then they'll work on that and they'll understand that, and they might go and get some hypnotic regression. It might just come back naturally. So that's the answer. I hope that takes you forward a little bit more on your research. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Next question is from Emerald Isle, who says, "Hello Becky, Simon and your four-legged multi-dimensional friends. Woof woof, meow meow." Simon, in a previous reply to a question of mine, you believed we would see the fall of the City of London, DC and the Vatican City in our lifetime. Did this occur when President Trump met with the Queen this June? I am led to believe that Trump informed the Queen that the US corporation is no more and that America is a sovereign republic again. Although challenging, I'm glad I decided to reincarnate here at this particular time. Love and light to you both.
Okay, well, I think we just need to clarify four. I don't think I've ever... I know exactly what you mean, but I'm just being absolutely, like a lawyer. We won't see the infrastructure destroyed. We won't see the buildings fall down. If you're talking about the shackles or the control system falling, you've obviously done your research and you're obviously very much aware of stuff. Partially, yes. It was always a very important meeting because President Trump wanted a state visit. He didn't want to talk business with the elected politicians. That was not the purpose of the visit. The purpose of the visit was something that politicians had no control over. That's really important. You see, President Trump, the President of the United States, is a politician. He's elected. But the position the President of the United States holds is a superior politician in terms of its ranking. The office of President is higher than any other elected office on the planet. So although technically President Trump is a politician, the President can act in a way that's almost like somebody who's a royal family member or somebody who's beyond that. And that's the office of President. When President Trump came to Britain, his specific point was to discuss things with the Queen, because the Queen is not a politician and the Queen is not subject to the rules and regulations of a country or a law. Although of course many politicians don't subject themselves to those rules and laws and maybe 25 years later get caught out. But it's legal for the Queen to operate in a way that a politician couldn't. Legal in terms of the law of the land, the created rules. So when President Trump met the Queen, there were a large number of things that were discussed. There were 3 or 4 topics that were only could be discussed between those two people, and there was a deal struck where America was recognized now to be somewhat out of the global control. I can't say 100%, but that a independence was tacitly recognized. I can't say agreed because the break had already been made, but agreed. In other words, throw it back a little bit to Britain's history. In 404, 405 AD, something like that, the Roman army effectively left the British Isles, the UK. But in 410, some few years afterwards, the Roman emperor in Italy, or France as he was, I think, wrote to the legal councils in Britain saying basically, I recognise you are on your own. I recognise you. And interestingly enough, this thing from the ancient Roman emperor said, I now give every man the right to bear arms. Because in Great Britain we have a tradition of never bearing arms. It's incredible. We go right back through our history. But this Roman emperor in about 410 AD sent a document saying to the British councils who were running the country at the time, you can bear arms. I recognise you are now separate from the Roman Empire. So you are, I believe, 100% right with that question. I think that the Queen recognised a semi-independence of the United States in terms of her say or her control over the corporate America, the financial part. And there were other elements that the President gave to her so that the deal was equal. So there were things that he could do for her that she couldn't have any control over, because these things were going to unfold in America, and believe it or not, they are beginning to unfold now. And he had said, I'm prepared to give ground on X, Y, and Z, but there are things that I want. And President Trump is perhaps one of the greatest wheeler dealers that the American presidency has seen in a long time. So he will go there and he will make deals. And the very fact that the Queen of England and President Trump are incredibly close is simply because they amazed themselves and came away getting what each person wanted. Normally you go for a deal and it's top heavy one end, or you don't get anything. But if you think about all the deals that President Trump has done, they were all advertised. This was not advertised clearly. But I can tell you that both sides believe they got a good deal. That is why, I don't know what privately they might think, but publicly they have a very good relationship, and it's a very problem for the detractors of President Trump, because publicly at least the mood music coming from Great Britain, as a statesman, President Trump is highly regarded, and that's a problem because domestically the media don't like President Trump and see him as a very bad negotiator, and yet if you look at the world, those he deals with actually quite respect him. So there's an interesting situation. So yes, well done, you're on the right tracks, great.
Okay, thanks. James says, "Hi Simon, I think it would be interesting to hear on all the alien races that you are aware of, what dimensions they live in, and are they negative or positive towards humanity, including the energetic life forms like the jinn." I'm not going to run through a list of them. There are quite a number of websites out there, or there were some books printed in the 1980s and 90s. The trouble is that everyone, including myself, you write from your own perspective, and I know that what a lot of these people have done is that they either have no experience themselves or they have limited experience, and that's fine. But then to flesh out the book or flesh out the story, they then lift stuff from other places. Where is the person that's gone round meticulously to interview people? Very few of them. There are some, but very few of them. To interview them and then put that on there. Nobody, to my knowledge, has effectively gone through maybe 500 genuine experiences or abductees or contactees, whatever label they may or may not wish to take to themselves, and then put them through. I said there are a couple of books, and the first half dozen of drawings are, that looks pretty good, and then you get into the interesting ones that aren't very reported, and I think it's quite difficult to do it, because one person will have heavy experiences in one area and no experiences in another. So when that person speaks, he or she is only speaking from their own perspective, of course, but the fact that he or she leaves out other aspects begins to swing the story in an unbalanced way. And so it is the researcher, i.e. you, your job to find as many credible people as you can, each whom have an experience with a particular race, and then pull it together. Now maybe one day somebody will do that. Somebody will do that and produce a definitive document. But until that time is reached, I'm very, very cautious about that. And I'm not going to spend the precious hour that we have on that. I think that's a task for maybe you or for somebody else to start doing that. Why don't you write? I'm being totally serious. I don't joke generally. Why don't you write to every person who's gone public, who you think is genuine, and ask them to give a little account on certain points, and why don't you put them together, and why don't you do a book? Okay, that's a great resource, and see how you go with that. Thank you. What I want to do now is just very quickly, before we go on to anything more, just remind people, excuse me, coughing, to remind you that on the 15th of September? Sunday.
15th of September is a Sunday. We have our annual Connecting Consciousness meeting in London. It's not a conference. It's a meeting place for all members of CC. There will be obviously some talks, but it's not a conference. We'll be doing a little bit of work to look at how we want CC to develop. We'll, fingers crossed, hopefully have something exciting to share with you all about 5G. There'll be other things there, but basically it's a chance for you to meet each other, talk, look at the future of CC, try and help to plan where we take CC. Now, if you're a CC member, you ought to have had an email through giving you the details of where this is. If you haven't, please check your junk folder and see where it's gone, because we've literally sent an email to everyone that's on the list. I initially thought that most people, or nearly everyone, would come from Britain. I'm absolutely delighted that we've got people who are in a position to come from America to come over, and other countries as well. It's expensive to fly, it's time consuming, and I just really didn't expect anyone to be able to be in that position. So the fact that some of you have confirmed that you are coming is really fantastic, and I really appreciate that, just as I do for the person that has a 5-minute walk to come out of their door and come to the hall. Anybody who makes that effort has a real commitment and is able to do it. There are many of you that have a real commitment but just are not able to do it. So I will obviously give you feedback through the shows, and it will be recorded, or parts of it will be recorded and put on YouTube. So if you can't physically be there, you can be there in spirit, and you can see what we did. Thank you. I just wanted to do that, Becky, because otherwise I'll forget.
Sure. Thank you. Yes, and we've had lots of wonderful feedback on this. Okay, the next question is from Marie, who says, "Dear Simon and Becky, a few minutes before the meditation today, I was energetically attacked, suddenly with no provocation. An incredibly bright, sparkling light entered my vision from the left. It formed an arc and tilted northwest. On the left, a pyramid, geometric shapes and lines were suspended, tapering right to a small triangle serrated edging like an award gold seal. Intuitively, I knew what it was. I do not have eye problems. I gave it no power, and I focused on the meditation, and it went away."
Okay. When we did this meditation, I expected to be taking on greed, the usual story, and as I've said in the beginning, that it wasn't quite what we expected. Very few people have reported any negative attacks. Very few. Sometimes when a particularly psychic person leaves one realm and joins another, they come to the attention of both good and bad forces. I often use the story of the lighthouse standing at the end of a cliff, and it sends a light out. Everyone can see it, good or bad. So you can get good people drawn to you, and you can get bad people drawn to you. What you've described there is quite interesting. It's not a energy weapon attack. It's nothing like that. And you've described it as evil or bad. I'm just wondering why you think it's bad. You see, not everything with a pyramid is evil. We would consider the pyramids to be fourth dimensional. What you perhaps haven't picked up there is that this is a linear piece of information. It's arrived in an arc, so it's been transformed into a third dimensional understanding. The small pyramid and the larger pyramid, the beginning and literally is the beginning and the end. It's the start of transmission, the end of transmission, and the symbols on the arc are the symbols. It is debatable whether this is good or evil. Certainly, please book a session with me. I'd be very interested to go through that with you. But quite truthfully, you're the first person to report anything negative. Whereas when we did the Hadron Collider, we had countless people who had a bit of a headache. Didn't last long. Didn't feel particularly well. A bit dizzy. That went within a few hours. And then the key group who were doing the work did suffer quite seriously. We had some people who were doing the point of the spear, if you like, or the secondary actions. They were quite considerably physically harmed, but each person knew what they were doing, and they knew what to expect. Although everyone has recovered eventually, that was very difficult. We expected it. This is minimal because it was not this Amazon fire situation was not protected in the same way as the Hadron Collider. It's not an asset. The Hadron is a physical third stroke fourth dimensional asset. belonging to a wide range of individuals, whereas the fire situation was something completely different. Now, I'm sorry that that's occurred, but I'm not convinced it's evil. Just because we've got pyramids doesn't mean it's evil. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. This question from Wes in California says, Simon, I strangely feel the need to communicate with you. I guess I need help most of all. I'm in California. I'm an ex-high school, middle school and elementary school teacher. I've taught in Thailand, where I taught sentence structure while becoming a monk at a place in Thailand. But I'm struggling with unbearable anxiety at night. It wants me to die, which I won't do. My best friend, a super healing guy, was also feeling under attack and close to suicide, but absolutely, okay my word, not there yet. Any advice, and I'll fight for the good of eternity of this life. Remember, Wes from California.
Right. Either you have inadvertently advertised yourself and brought the attack on, or you've handled an object unwittingly or wittingly, which has attacked you, or you've been used as a portal through which to attack you, or somebody doesn't like you and has either attacked you excuse me, or has got someone else to do it. It's got to be one of those few things. It's not physical, it's energetical. It doesn't sound like a weapon. It sounds much more like pure hatred. The kill yourself is generally a demonic. It's their old story. That's the one they've used for God knows how long. Throw yourself off a cliff, do this, do that. You know, again, all I can say is that you're going to have to wait for me to book her if you can't find someone else who has the experience of working in this field, and see if they can assist you. It is definitely not coming from yourself. It's not a program. You're not describing to me a program that's running. It's nothing like an MK Ultra program. This is an external concept that's been given to you. It's not unlike voodoo magic. Okay, I'm just picking it up on the periphery for you. It's voodoo. If you've been to a Caribbean place where you have handled a mask or some device, or something's happened, just ask yourself, have you been in a country where voodoo magic is practiced, or there's a concept of it? Because if you have, send an email to either Andy or Rebecca. Now, we are really struggling to keep up with our emails. Remember, we're a voluntary group. We survive literally on the love of individuals who are prepared to put time in. We do get through our emails. If we get them, sometimes they never reach us, but we do get them. There is a delay. But if you want to email in, if that is the case, and then I will do something to talk to you. Okay, thank you.
I've actually just moved. Oh, sorry. I've just moved on to the next question, and it's by the same person.
Okay.
And this could really give a lot more information towards
right.
this.
Okay. Well, am I going to? It'll be interesting to see then, based on what I've said, whether the question now following up means that I was on the right track or not. Go on.
Okay. So it's also by Wes, who said, I've been abducted since I was 4.5 years old by the 3-foot-tall aliens in brown hooded robes.
Great.
They appeared at my bed's end and told me not to move. It was obviously not my bed, not my apartment. It looked to me like a super bad reproduction of a kid's room, but was really an alien hospital waiting room with 2 or 3 pointed doors at the foot of a large grey bed that I was in.
Pointed doors. Is that right?
That's what he's written. Doors. 2 or 3 pointed doors at the foot of a large grey bed that I was in.
Pyramid shaped. Go on.
I want more of these memories, Simon. I believe I deserve them. Having meditated on the feelings I have, I had a dream of floating through my roof, looking back to a black and white see-through house where my beloved orange cat was alone in a brilliant, bright orange and white glow. Also, I saw the ship. It was black.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, right. These are not your traditional greys. In fact, if you were to look at the colour of them, they might actually not be grey colour. They might actually be a sort of an orangey, very dull, rusty red colour grey. Sort of a light brown. The hoods, cloaks, very traditional when these creatures are dealing with children. For most people, as children, the concept of this is too much to handle, and therefore these creatures either come in a physical disguise, as in a cloak placed over them, or they produce a screen memory into the brain of the person to make themselves look more acceptable. And that's why so many people have fears of clowns, things like that. It doesn't change, thankfully, doesn't change my viewpoint. The pointed doors are interesting, that helps. The screen memory of the room being like a playroom, that makes sense, but you knew it was a hospital. It's where experiments were done on children. But your first question is much more recent in terms of, you didn't feel suicidal when you were 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11. Often people who have had experiences in one field will be experiencing stuff in other fields. It's very rare a person has an experience with one entity and that's the end of the story, unless it's just literally one of these opportunistic grabs. The spacecraft literally was flying over, saw an individual, had 30 seconds to work with them, one off. What, maybe 5% of all experiences are like that. Most are planned and organised a long time in advance. The question is, why is this starting now in your life? And also your friend who's psychic is also feeling it, which tells me it's more of a demonic energy attack, attacking anything in your field. You could be mutually supportive of each other. That's why the attack is coming. So all I can deduce from what you've told me is that somebody who is open and psychic, that's why these creatures are interested in you, in one way, naturally would be a target in another way. So yeah, I think it would be worth your while to book. I would be interested to hear more about the little figures. I am familiar with them. And finally, to your question, I think in your case it might be helpful to go to hypnotherapy. You don't want the man or woman that works for corporations to stop people smoking cigarettes or to be a better salesperson. You need someone that can work and knows about taking you back to childhood, back to traumatic situations. Please ensure that you make notes of these things, and then you've got that for record, and I'd be very happy to chat to you when you get more memory back, and that would help a lot. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Kin Che says, "Hi Simon and Becky, sending you well wishes and thanks for all you do. In 1984, cosmonauts on the Salyut 7 space station saw colossal winged humanoid entities outside the window. Any idea what these were?"
No. This actually was genuine. It did make it into the sort of peripheral news. I didn't have alternative media in the true sense of the word back then. But it was quickly, just glossed over. What I'm not sure of is whether these were energy creatures that took that shape because any organic physical body would struggle to live in a near vacuum. And even reptilians require a form of gas to breathe, and most entities require something, unless they are like the robotic greys that don't require any form of air. I would rather think you're talking about an energy being. These creatures are in humankind's history and consciousness. And if we go right back to the concept of fallen angels, to the angels that were black coloured with the wings, and that is a concept that's still quite strongly embedded in religion, but also in the minds of many people. Now, whether that is their natural shape, or whether that is the shape they choose to take to terrorize humanity, that I don't know. Could simply be a jinn, because they can survive in that environment, that wish to take that shape because it was the traditional tormenting shape. You're going to be tormented by one of these demons, and it's a great big black thing with the wings. So I think we can definitely say it's a non-biological form, it's an energy form. Now, why would it show itself to them? Either there's an individual, a member of the crew they were particularly interested in, or they wanted the crew to completely see them because they wanted that message to get back to the highest levels within Soviet government. You see, astronauts of all major countries are always interrogated or debriefed afterwards privately as to what they've seen. So I think that would be an interesting line to go down. Thank you. Before the next question, I just want to thank everyone who's kindly donated. I haven't been able to get through the paperwork to give the list of names out, so I'm sorry, but I just want to thank everyone who has kindly supported what I do and what we do. It's your generosity that keeps us on the air, basically, keeps us going, keeps us making contacts and doing stuff. And just because I don't have my list doesn't mean that I'm, don't care or I don't bother. Sometimes I just can't get the thing up, or sometimes other things come up to block it. So, I just want to thank everyone for their kindness. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Nell asks, says, thank you, Simon and Becky, for all the great information to us. If the planet Lyra was destroyed by the Dracos, and this planet was from the 12th dimension, how can the Dracos reach this dimension if they're from the 4th?
Yeah, first of all, Lyra was not on the 12th dimension. Lyra is now in the 6th dimension. Not the planet was destroyed, but the energy force, the energy field, those beings are now in the 6th dimension. Lyra was destroyed in the 4th dimension. The reptilians were in the 4th. The reptilians, this is the problem for the reptilians. Whilst other races have evolved, the reptilians have stayed. So the reptilians were 3rd dimensional, just like we were in terms of our energy field. And then they evolved. They evolved from the 3rd to the 4th. Goodness me, that seems impossible, but they did. And that's as far as they got. And for millions of years, they've been stuck in the 4th. Now, they made it into the middle 4th, but because of their belief systems, because of their choices, they have free will, they were created by Source, just as you and I were. Because of their choices, their energy signature began to drop, and we now call it the lower 4th. We can actually divide the 4th into the lower and the upper. I can't put a middle ground in there, but I can call it the lower 4th and the rest of the 4th. And they, along with the Greys, have dropped in, and just to describe it really, it's sort of pushing down into our reality. But when the wars between Lyra and the reptilian force occurred, both were in the 4th dimension. Both were in the middle of the 4th dimension. So this was not long after the reptilians made it up into the 4th, because when they went into the 4th, they suddenly found they had all these new places to conquer, all these new people. Instead of making friends with them, they wanted to dominate them and control them, the usual story. That is why they were able to destroy themselves. Now remember, it's relatively easy to come down the ladder, 5, 4, 3. It's incredibly difficult to go up, and this is this birthing pains that the Earth and the people on the planet are going through at the moment, because we are moving up, we are evolving up. And I just say it again, that we're not going to stay in the 4th dimension. We will pass through the fourth dimension into the fifth. The reason we'll pass through the fourth is because we are in the process of overcoming the control system of the fourth dimension. The earth is a wonderful, beautiful, happy, loving place. It is the importation of fourth dimensional, lower fourth dimensional energy, which is the evil that has tainted our world. So when we break free, we're not breaking free of the negative third, we're just breaking free of the traditional third dimension. But we are breaking free of the evil fourth controlling network. So why in heck do we need to go to the fourth when we've already broken through it? So it's like a game of snakes and ladders, where you suddenly land on a ladder and hey, I can go up and cut off the corner. And that's what we're doing. We will have won the right on the snakes and ladders board. It's quite good, isn't it? Because the reptilians are snakes. I quite like that analogy, and I didn't plan that. To go up the ladder and to cut off all that extra hard work. And that's why it's so damn difficult now. If it was easy, we'd all be up in the 12th dimension, wouldn't we, doing whatever? But it's a real struggle, and not everybody is destined for that. People's choices are to go to whatever and to pay your life there. So it was quite easy for the reptilian force and the Lyran force to engage each other because they both existed in the same reality. And sadly the Lyran planet was destroyed, but many had space travel in the fourth dimension. They were far more advanced than we were and are. And they were able to move on, and they still evolved, so they made it into the fifth, but they then made it up into the sixth. They didn't have a home world, but they were scattered throughout the place, and they could make that move up. If one group of people with one energy signature all acts as a consciousness, so you couldn't say, well, the guys on Neptune suddenly shot up to the sixth dimension while the guys on Pluto didn't. It doesn't work like that. Consciousness knows no boundaries. It joins everything together, and when it moves as a group. That's why all the planets in the solar system are heating up at the moment and changing. That's a really good question. So thank you for that.
Okay, thanks. And the last question today is from Scott, who says, "Hi Simon, are smartphones using mind reading tech? For example, I thought about buying a chess set recently. I only thought about it. And an advert for a chess set appeared on Facebook for me. This is not the first time this has happened, and I am positive I didn't say this out loud to anyone or search for it online. Best wishes."
For a non-awakened aware person, the answer I'm going to give would just be too incredible. They'd shake their head and run off and, I don't know, go and watch a football game or something. Nothing wrong in the football game, but we need to be able to balance our life. Can't sit all the time eating fries and watching the football match. The answer is yes, but not all of these phones. So don't everybody think that's the case. It's about you as an individual. If you are, it's not just about being particularly psychic, it's if you're operating at a frequency right up to the edge of the third dimensional consciousness, then you are picked up, and it's not actually being picking up by your phone. It's not the phone that's picking you up. It's something else that's picking you up. But the phone is the object within which to communicate with you. So you have a thought, something else is picking that up, and it's all about money, isn't it? And so what they'll do is they'll push that through to the only method they have. If they use skull to brain technology and you suddenly heard a voice in your head saying, go out and buy a chessboard, then you're not going to do that. You're going to be very concerned and very worried. And why would they need to do that when you've got your cell phone and they can just send a message to it and the advert comes up? And they'll do it with other devices as well. It is not your phone necessarily reading it. There is a technology for that, but it's not out there widely. But there are other methods of knowing what a person is thinking and then doing it. Now the question is, that's a lot of hard work to sell you a chessboard. So I think there's more to this. I think it's more about seeing if they are actively picking up your memory thoughts, sending it to you, and seeing what you do about it. So it's well worth your while, if you can, hold on and wait and book with me, because I've got a lot of questions about your past. I'd like to know about military aspects of your family, etc., etc. So I think it's very exciting, very interesting. You do have to be incredibly careful, but don't go throwing your phone away, because it's not the phone that's doing this, it's merely receiving the adverts. Okay. Listen, thank you. When Becky said the final question, I thought, no, can't be. I looked at the clock and we've done over an hour. It always goes so quickly. I really love responding to your questions. It's the way I have of connecting with you all over the planet, whoever you are, wherever you are. It's a wonderful opportunity to connect with people that I can't otherwise sadly see or be with. So I'm just very grateful for your love. I'm very grateful for your ability to resist all the nonsense that is thrown at all of us. And there's nothing worse than an unawake and unaware person who quite blankly rebuffs your ideas or your assistance or your help. You try to help somebody and they're so closed down, they're so in another world, literally, that they can't even, through fear, I guess, engage with you. And that can be quite disheartening, can't it? So one of the reasons that I went public, and I did 10 years ago, was to say to people, you're not mad, you're not having a nervous breakdown. Here's my experience. Hook on to that in terms of understand it, learn about it, learn about your own experiences, and then try and find people who have had like experiences, and form a support group, form a network of people that won't laugh at you, won't pretend to be friends with you and really think you're crazy. Find people who had different experiences to you, but understand that the world that we live in is not the world that's sold on the magazine stands and stalls. The world that we truly exist in is multidimensional, and it's about time that everybody woke up to that. So thanks ever so much, and speak to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.